Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending. I have Mark Cadesky today, and today we're going to be talking about why EXP and why a broker of record, broker manager, somebody that's been in the business for a very long time, decided to partner with us at EXP. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure as always. So, tell me a little bit about yourself and your real estate journey. Who is Mark Cadesky and what is your story?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, who is anybody? I think anybody is more than just what they do. But let's start with things from a real estate perspective. Uh, I'll take you back to the beginning. So I started actually it's 28 years, almost to the day right now. I believe I got my registration March 24th of 1994. So
And you're 29 years old?
I started no, I'm a bit older than that. I started when I was 5. So,
I'll start at 5.
okay. Yeah. So I started off as just a salesperson with Remax. I was there for 15 years. It was a great company. I learned a ton and I really enjoyed my time there. During that time, the last 4 or 5 years that I was there, I started teaching at OREA. So I did courses 1, 2, and 3. Which was phenomenal, and did that right up until they lost the mandate to Humber, and I'll talk about that in a second as well. After 15 years at Remax, I was approached to go and manage a home life office, and I did. We had 2 branches that I was looking after. I ended up with over 300 salespeople that I was managing, and that was a phenomenal education for me as well, because not only was I sort of helping the agents get their deals done and helping them through whatever crises they were going through at the time, but I was also kind of like a general manager. So I got a great overview of all the hiring, the help come up with policies and implement them, the deals department, the website creation and the development of all that, and everything else you can think of that goes along with running a brokerage, I learned there. And it was a phenomenal experience. I was very grateful for having had the opportunity to do that. I did that for 5 years. Then I decided now would be a great time to open my own brokerage. So I did that.
A lot of people don't know that about you, Mark. I
Yeah,
don't think.
well, it's I suppose that's true. And the opening up your own brokerage, there's a lot involved with that. I think a lot more than people think as it relates to that. So very difficult to run a successful brokerage. And it's not so much that the people running it or the person running it doesn't know what he or she is doing. It's a matter, there are many different facets of it. You have to be properly financed. You have to be in it for, be able to sustain it for a long term, because it can take a long time for you to develop and build and bring in enough people to sustain it. So I did that for a few years, and then I realized that there was, through friends of friends kind of thing, I found out about Keller Williams. And I realized that what I was trying to establish kind of was already there in place. So I closed up my brokerage and took my team over to Keller Williams' office in a different part of town. And I started off there as the broker manager for actually 2 different branches again. Well, it was actually 2 separate companies, but sort of economies of scale. And we worked it such that I was able to look after both of them as the broker manager. Then I was the broker manager and productivity coach.
Right.
Then I became the team leader, and so on. So a lot of different facets and experiences from that perspective as well. And then OREA lost the mandate to Humber College, and Humber College was just starting to get the program off the ground. As a matter of fact, I was the first person that the associate dean hired to help them generate the program and get it going. And I saw that as a phenomenal opportunity as well. I don't know if you can gather from what I'm telling you or the story here, but I like to grow and build things and see them through from a lower level and bring them up and really develop them. That excites me very much.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working at Humber and hiring on all the facilitators. Well, I didn't do it. I helped to do that and helped develop the program a little bit. And that's what I did for about a year and then I started consulting as well to help agents who maybe couldn't get the response they needed as quickly from their manager, broker of record as they would like. And one thing led to the next. Then I became broker of record at a different KW office, which was also sort of in its infancy. And that is sort of how we ended up, Robert, you and I talking.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that leads us to where I am right now.
Yeah, yeah. So how did you first hear about EXP, and like, is there any things that really stood out when you heard
Well,
about
it's a funny story. I mean, how did I first hear about EXP? As I mentioned, I was with Keller Williams, and I always get them mixed up if it's Family Reunion or Mega
Mega
Camp. I
Camp?
always forget which one is which, but they have two big events every year. And so I was at one of them, and there were, I don't know, 10, 15,000 people in the auditorium there. And it really was about that many.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard Gary Keller up on stage doing his thing as he does at every one of these events, and he started talking about EXP. And I looked at the person beside me and I said, "What's an EXP?" So I had never heard of it. So this was going back, and I'm going to say about 5 years or so. And I had no
Okay.
idea what it was. And the person beside me didn't know what it was either. Well, I think they're a brokerage. But that's all I knew or heard about it. And then I forgot about it because
So you
next,
didn't run and go and join them right after you heard about it?
no, I didn't go and join them right after I heard about it. As a matter of fact, I was really happy where I was because KW, frankly, is an awesome company.
They are. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I can't tell you how much I learned from them. It was an awesome company. It still is.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
but to answer your question, that's the first time that I had ever heard about it. And then I just put it out of my mind because there was, I don't know, just nothing to talk about. And as far as I knew, they weren't
Mhm.
even in Canada.
Right. Yeah, yeah. You're probably right. And I think I heard about it around the same time. So, when you finally decided to look at the model and check out EXP, how long was your due diligence about when you first were told about it? I guess forget
Well,
the first time you heard about
yeah, Robert, you're actually probably the first person in Canada that told me that. I mean, I knew some people here and there were going, but the first person who I had somewhat of a relationship with, and because you and
it.
I go back a bit.
Absolutely.
So you called me and told me that you and Waleed had done what you did,
Hmm.
and it wasn't in any way a recruiting call or anything like that. You were just calling to say hi, let me know what you did. And
Hmm.
as a matter of fact, I said, well, you know what, I've started this consulting thing. Maybe when you get enough people, we can work together. And you said, yeah,
Sure.
let's talk about that when the time comes. And
Yeah.
then that was pretty much it. We chatted a few times here and there in between. And then in the interim, I'd become broker of record. You saw something that I had posted on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever it was, and you reached out just to say hi and
Hmm.
suggested let's go and have lunch and just chat, and we did. And again, it was nothing whatsoever to do with EXP. But as we were sitting there having lunch, I asked you about what you're doing, and the more you were telling me, the more I became interested in it for a number of different reasons. And I probably had a look on my face. So as you're sitting across the table from me, what's going through this guy's head? Because I know that my eyes, how when people think they kind of, their eyes look sort of in a different direction, you can tell the wheels are spinning. I think that's what
I
was going on in my head.
I think it's just like, it's great when it's an organic thing where things
Yeah,
just happen naturally. You meet people for a reason. We decided to grab lunch just as friends and everything, and
right.
then it was like, I was like, okay, I'm not even gonna bring this up to Mark because I respect him. And at the time, you were the broker of record of
Yeah,
a franchise, a major franchise. So I
right.
was not expecting anything more than just us getting together for a little bit of lunch. But so tell me a little bit, like, what was the most difficult part of your other positions before that you were in that you would struggle with that maybe EXP is solving, if they are solving anything for you?
Well, really what I found was, my perspective, I think, is going to be a little bit different than most of the listeners here because, yes, I do still trade, and I enjoy doing that very much. But what really excites me is that being able to help other agents, it not necessarily from a growing their business perspective, because there are lots of resources for that, but helping them through deals, helping them write clauses or whatever crises they're dealing with at the moment, whether it's a compliance issue or anything like that. I really enjoyed doing that aspect of it. And where I was, and the more people I can help do that, the happier I am. And where I was,
Mhm.
the brokerage, yes, it was growing. It was a bit slower than I would like, but there's some other things that were even a bit more important to me, or as important. And those things have to do with the future for me.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I'm at a stage now where, you know, I don't want to have to work until I drop dead, whenever that happens to be.
Mhm.
I want to be able at some point to enjoy. And yes, I do enjoy now. And I want to work only because I want to, not because I have to.
Mhm.
I wasn't, where I was, really in a position to be able to do that so much because they don't offer everything that EXP does. And some examples.
Okay.
Yes, there was profit sharing, but I think with EXP, the revenue share model is different and more advantageous to us.
Okay.
So that's number one. So it's a way that I can generate some passive income. And when I say that, it's not that I spend my time, recruiting agents. When I was team leader at KW, when I was managing the other office, the
Sorry if you
recruit,
hear that.
yeah, there's some construction
They're
going
doing
on.
the.
The recruitment aspect of those roles is probably the part that I enjoyed least, picking up the phone and calling people and asking them to come in. Once they came in and I met them face to face, I enjoyed that very much. But the
Right.
picking up the phone to call them to come in, I didn't enjoy that. So that's not something that I think I will do or have been doing here either. I
No.
prefer, like you said before, more organic situations. So that's
Right.
number one, is the passive income from that. Number two is the ability, because EXP is a public company, not anybody here or anybody in the world can buy EXP stock anytime they want. But what I can do is I can opt into the program, which I have done, whereby any commission that I earn, I can get 5%, take 5% of that and buy EXP stock at a 10% discount. Now, when I first heard about that, I said, big whoop. I don't invest in stocks. They scare me. I don't care. But then I started thinking, as time went on and as you and I were talking, I don't invest in stocks or really too much else. And that's problematic. And getting back to the point where I don't want to have to work till I drop dead,
Right.
it's almost like a forced savings account. If the 5% never goes into my account, I don't miss it. I never
Mhm.
saw it. I never had it to begin with. And yet it's going to work for me in a
Right.
very positive way.
It's almost like they keep the change with the banks, where they just say we're going to put some extra money, the change in a savings account for you, and then
Right.
after this huge amount, like I log into my stock account now and then, not too much, and I'm just amazed. You know, I logged in recently because they just said you got a new stock award, and I was like, okay, great, fantastic, and I looked at it, I was like, wow, this is too good to be true, to be honest with you. But so what
Well,
surprised you the most? Go ahead.
yeah, except that if something is too good to be true, it ain't. But in this case, it is. So,
Yeah.
so there's that benefit as well. And as I said, it's not something that I really couldn't have cared less about that before. But
Mhm.
as I start to think about the future, I really do care about it now. And it's something that I think is going to be very valuable for me down the road. So between the passive income from the revenue share
Mm-hmm.
and and the stocks,
Mm-hmm.
that is enough of a reason there. But then there was even more. And as you and I were talking, during that lunch, one of the
Mm-hmm.
other things, the other cogs in my brain that was going off was, or that was turning, was the idea that I can again grow something that will more directly impact what I do. And the beauty of it is that I'm not dependent really on other people to help me get where I want to go. So what I mean by that is that where I was previously, a bunch of things had to happen and other people had to okay it. And like I wasn't the boss per se, so I couldn't really determine where things were going to go.
Mm-hmm.
With EXP, what I can do is I could essentially, if I wanted to, I could kind of have my own brokerage
Mm-hmm.
without all the headache associated with running a brokerage, like worrying about the finances, which is a big headache
Mm-hmm.
when you run a brokerage, like
Absolutely.
worrying about the trust account, like hiring competent staff and keeping them happy and doing all those kinds of things, because there's one head office. It's not a franchise, or as we know, there's one head office. They look after all of that stuff. So if I wanted to put together, if I wanted to, even have a partner, I could set up a hub. I could, if I wanted to, rent a small place where we could just sort of have some culture and some buzz going. We can have
Mm-hmm.
people come and join us there, and I could do what I love to do, which is to mentor and help people while they're going through all the aggravation that they're going through in the course of trying to run a real estate business.
Yeah.
So
I
from the growth perspective, I really thought that it was a phenomenal opportunity as well.
Yeah. I remember two things that just came to my mind. The
Mhm.
first is you were saying like you just felt at one point that you hit a ceiling, like,
Yeah.
you went and you were doing one job and then you were doing the next, and you've done all these different positions. And you're like, it was kind of like, what's next for Mark? And you didn't really, like, I felt like you didn't really know the answer to that question. And I think EXP has opened some of those doors for you.
I think that's exactly right, because I can kind of do it all. And again, my perspective is going to be a little bit different than most of our listeners who just want to go out and sell real estate. But obviously, you can still do that. And the thing about that is you've got a ton of tools at your disposal to help you do that. I mean, Rob, I've seen you use that KV Core and what it does for you and all the leads that you're generating from that. I mean, you told me about it. I said, you're completely full of shit and I don't believe you. But then I saw it.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. Like, I can't believe it. Like, some of the things that it does, still to this day, we're not even scratching the surface.
Yeah.
So, and again, there's lots of good CRMs, but this one is just one that we get and we don't pay for it. So it's pretty free. The other thing that I remember, and it was more at the beginning when we were talking, and he said, if you ever need help with anything, like, we have this service, and if you don't have a brokerage or somebody to talk to and you want to hire my services with the Ask Mark,
Mhm.
reach out to me. And I remember saying, Mark, I honestly don't need it. And that was the thing. And that's why, like, even when we met for the lunch, I was like, as much as I know Mark wants to, you know, meet with me, so then potentially we might take on his services with Ask Mark, it was interesting because we really didn't need it, because our support was actually so good, that we have internally with EXP, which was kind of surprising, to be honest with you. At first, when I made the move, I was like, okay, this is going to be something different. It's cloud. Am I going to get a hold of somebody? I don't know yet. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
And I had you as a safety blanket just in case, if it wasn't, and I never needed to call you for that. So that was really good. What surprised you the most about EXP? Like, what were you not expecting that's even better than you thought it would be?
Well, I think they're very much on the ball. I heard when I was, considering joining, well, when I joined last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was, yeah, the onboarding process, I kind of felt like a little bit, I just wasn't, it was a bit too slow. But I found it to be very, very effective. They were right on the ball really, really quickly. They did a great job of getting me onboarded very quickly, answered any questions I had. So that was good. And the other thing, it's really kind of cool that they have this workplace, as you know, Rob,
Mhm.
which was designed by Facebook, and the interface is exactly Facebook's interface. So anything that you need within EXP is right there contained within that environment. So you can go and get help on whatever you need from there. There are forums. There are, people at head office you can talk to. There is a broker and a manager assigned, to you who you can speak to. But of course, I'm always available if, for whatever reason, if you want to meet
Yeah.
face to face with somebody, then I'm around too. And again, that's what I really like to do. So those are some of the things that surprised me about it, is how efficient they are.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with you. What do you think about the access that our group has to some of the training, like NAEA coaching and some of the training with Jay Kinder, Michael Reese, Al Stasic, that they provide free to our group?
Well, it's invaluable. I think when everybody is trying to find ways to help them stand out, because with the 64,000 other people out there just on the Toronto board, that's not Ontario, that's just Toronto. You have to find ways to distinguish yourself from the rest of the schleppers. And one of the main ways you can do that, and I always preach this, is just educate yourself and become as knowledgeable as you possibly can, because that is really what people want. If you're sitting there interviewing, if a seller's interviewing you and they're interviewing somebody else, and you know what you're talking about, and it's clear that you do, and you've got the confidence contained within you because you know that you've got the goods, and the other person is really unsure of themselves because they are not so convinced that they actually know what they're doing, or that they've got the proper advice for you, the sellers are going to choose you every time. So
Right.
any extra bit of knowledge and expertise that you can pick up is only going to benefit you, and you can get a ton of it here with us.
Yeah. Yeah, with the coaching that our group has, and then the addition of having you, where you have so much invaluable expertise from all of the different jobs and everything that you've been through. I think we're creating a really great group in here, and it's a nice office, and it's nice to have you. If there was
Nice to
one
be had.
thing, yeah, if there's one takeaway that you would want to make sure that everyone that's listening here today, would pick up, what would that be?
If it's a matter of, well, let's compare splits, then I'm not quite sure that that's the best way to approach it here. Although, depending on where you are, it could potentially save you quite a bit of money to be at an EXP rather than where you are. That's not the case all the time. Sometimes it's going to be more expensive too. So you have to
Hmm.
look at the number, but that shouldn't be the only thing that you look at. Right? It's like when you're looking at mortgages, it's not just the rate you need to consider. It's all kinds of other things as well, like prepayment privileges and penalties and all sorts of
Absolutely.
things like that can end up saving you a lot of money in the long run, making your life a lot better and a lot easier, even if you have to pay a little bit more per month. So you have to look at all of those things. And I think it's the same thing with any brokerage that you're going to go to. Really, what is it that you think you're lacking? And maybe it isn't anything that you can think of. Maybe you don't feel you are until somebody asks you the right questions. So I think it's a matter of having, speaking with people, finding out if you have any sort of a pain point and what it is. And from my perspective, this is about Number one, growth. And number two, the future. That's what this is about for me. It's not how much am I making per deal. It's about
Right.
a lot more than that, and that's why I made the switch to EXP, because I think that I can uh, really accomplish what I want to accomplish.
I think that wasn't even a thing we even talked about. It was not like, and really when I do talk to people and they'll ask me questions about EXP, the last thing that I really talk about is the splits, because I think it's just relative. Like, you get what you pay for. Some people like to drive, $100,000 car. Some people are okay driving a $5,000 car. So there's there's always going to be that, and it's
Mhm.
about what you perceive as value. Not that EXP is expensive, or the lowest price out of any of the brokerages. They're like any business, they have to make money, and I
Mhm.
look at it in a sense that if the company's not making money, then we're in trouble. And I've always, even when we were at our old brokerage and people
Mhm.
would say that was too expensive and I'm going to move somewhere else, it was about the value that I got all the
Yeah.
time. And I don't think we would be at the position we are at today if we didn't have good structure in our lives, and good training. And I don't think I would have grown in the last year and a half. So I'm going on a rant now on me. I don't think I would have grown in the last year and a half the way I did if I didn't have that coaching or training or support that I'm getting now. So it's something I would like everybody to know out there is whichever company you're with, who you align with, make sure you're getting that support and that training, because it's just so important.
Yeah, and for some people, I mean, even if the people who do the most business, who are the most successful, quite often, they're the ones you're going to see in all of the training seminars. They never stop learning,
Yeah.
and it's crucial for them. So the top people don't rest on their laurels. They just keep wanting to improve and grow and grow and grow, because they know if they do rest on their laurels, they're going to be overtaken very quickly. So, and there's training here for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're
Mm-hmm.
brand
Yeah.
new or you've been around for eons. Yeah,
Absolutely. And the training is done by icon agents.
right.
So part of our culture and community is giving back, which is something that I really like and I really respect. So I just find sometimes, certain brokerages will put on training for the sake of training, and they'll say, we're the best at training, or we have the most training, whatever their claim they want to be. But then, is it quality or quantity? So we do have a lot of quantity with EXP because we're in the cloud and things are in, recorded, and uh, there are things that you can do on your own time. But I think it's really about the quality as well. When we're getting trained by icon agents, or we're invited to private mastermind groups, or Grant Cardone, uh, every month I get a new email from him saying, hey, there's a new training in EXP world, go check it out. I've only done it once. It was great stuff, but just trying to find time for all of that. There's just
Yeah,
so much of
yeah, there is, and as I said, I think that's one thing that you can do for yourself to really help set yourself apart, is to continuously and constantly gather information and soak it up, and you pick up a piece here and a piece there, and you never know when it's going to come in handy for you when a client asks you something, and oh, I just learned about this the other day. Well, let me tell you the answer.
it. Hmm.
So it's a great feeling to be able to do that.
That's why I love doing these events with you, Mark, because every
Yeah.
time I do them, I learn something. We did that
So do I.
other, yeah, we did that other event last time, and I want to do more of them, because every time, it just came up today about, do we need a mutual release, or is a deal firm if the deposit check doesn't come in? We just did that a month ago, and
Hmm.
and lo and behold, it happened. So we
Hmm.
were dealing with that scenario, and I was like, oh, I remember what Mark said. So it makes things a lot more easier, and there's a lot more confidence, I think, in doing your job. which is really great. So we are going to do another one soon. I think for the next one, we're not sure on what we want to talk about. So I think Josh has a Google form that we're going to put out and have a few topics where people can actually decide on the topics. So maybe we'll send that out in the link out to the next, and hopefully we, people are liking what we're doing, and we'll keep on doing it, because I'm learning every time we do it.
Yeah, and maybe what we can do is I didn't think of this, but maybe we can change the form for. So we've given 3 or 4 choices, I think it is. Maybe what we'll do is add in one more where people can write in if there's something that isn't one of those 3 or 4 that they can put in as well, because we'd like to do them as often as possible, and reach out to as many of you as possible as well to really help you out and hope that you get some value from it.
That's amazing. Mark, thanks for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. And you gave us your story and a lot of things that I think a lot of listeners didn't know about you. So I really appreciate that. Just really quickly before we sign off, if you're a reader, what is the best inspirational book that you love? Or if you're a movie watcher, what is your favorite movie of all time?
I don't know that I'm a big inspirational book reader. I love Malcolm Gladwell and Pat Conroy. They're 2 completely different authors, but those kinds of things. Even Scott Turow, excuse me, Nelson DeMille, books like that. So I love those. And then movies. Oh geez, a long list. I love the Pixar movies and Shrek and things like that. Love those.
They're amazing. They're so fun.
They are The Princess Bride, Raging Bull,
Wow.
Citizen Kane. So all kinds of different movies, and I got a pretty eclectic musical taste too.
Nice. Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate it, and we'll do this again.
Thanks for having me, Rob.
Okay, take care.
Yeah.
Bye.